All right, Keith, ready when you are.
All right, guys, we are live. This is the Shillan and Duffy recap show on Sherdog.com's YouTube page. I am your host. I am the Shillan to the Shillan and Duffy. My name is Keith Shillan. I'm a writer for Sherdog.com. He is the Duffy of the Shillan and Duffy show. He is Ben Duffy, the senior editor of Sherdog.com. Ben, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, man. It's it's early card week. That's always a good feeling. And man, did we have an explosive card tonight or what?
Oh, 2 weeks in a row. I mean, the prelims was as banging of a card I've ever seen. Shout out to all the people in the chat. We'll get that thing rocking. We'll take all your questions, your comments. We'll get you involved in the Bulls and the Bears and all that fun stuff. Little housekeeping before we get into this. I just want to give a little bit of warning, so a lot of the people who listen to our show know that this is not my full time job. I do something on the side. I am actually on call tonight, so my phone could ring at any time, and I'd have to jet out of here. Hopefully that doesn't happen, as I made it all day without getting called. So hopefully I can make it another, I don't know, hour and a half or so.
Also,
Uh,
just on general principle, if you get called in, it probably means something terrible happened. So I'm
yeah,
I'm hoping just for the sake of your town in which you work that you don't get called in. And obviously because I like
yeah,
to talk to you about the fights.
yeah. So let's get right into it. We have 13 fights. We're supposed to have 14. I don't care. I must be the only person on the planet. I don't care that Joe Lazon versus Donald Cerrone seems like a curse fight. To me, the two shot fighters. Some things are just not meant to be.
I'm with you on that, and you were very frank about it from the first time they tried to make this fight a month or two ago. That yeah, this would have been a banger fight 10 years ago, 8 years ago, even 5 years ago. But now you could take or leave it. And if this was what we had to offer up on the altar of the MMA gods in order to get just the carnival of slaughter that we got, then so be it. Because I
Yeah,
mean, you
that's
mentioned.
right.
I know we're going to recap this from the top fight down to the bottom, but first 9 fights out of the gate, 7 finishes, 6 of them in the first round, all knockouts. 7 knockouts, 6 first round knockouts in the first 9 fights on this card.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
the card tied the all time record for most knockouts on a card. I think it was second for first round finishes. I mean, it was absolutely spectacular. I'm assuming the bonuses are going to be everyone gets a bonus. We'll figure that out when we get there. We get a little bit of time. I feel bad for the guy who has to make that pick if they're actually going to have him pick four. We can have some fun with that. Let's get right into it. The main event is probably the only fight in the card that had any like rankings weight to it. Where in really we talked about it possibly a number one contender matchup. We had Josh Emmett winning a split decision over Calvin Kattar. Uh, I have not. I know you were doing the scorekeeping for Sherdog tonight. I saw your scorecard a couple times show tonight. I tried to purposely stay away from the really close ones. I tried to stay away because I'd rather like get the reaction live on air than knowing how you scored it. So extremely close fight. I think maybe 3 out of 5 rounds were real toss ups, or maybe 2 out of 5 rounds, something like that. How did you score the fight? And we'll throw this out to the chat too. Tell us in the chat how you guys scored the fight. Um,
I'm not proud of my scorecard because I actually
okay.
had it 49-46 for Kattar.
Okay.
And in hindsight, probably should have given the first round to Emmett as well.
So
I'd be comfortable with 48-47 Kattar.
I'm assuming you gave the third round to Emmett and all the rest to
Yeah.
Cater.
Yes.
Yeah. I had a 48-47 for Cater. I gave him the second, the fourth, and the fifth.
Okay. So
I
I
give
give
the
him first,
first and the
second,
third.
fourth, and fifth. And again, I mean, I think everything except for the third round was really close. The third round was an obvious Emmett round. You know.
Yeah, well, I think the fourth round was an obvious Cater round.
Okay. Yeah. I mean that one. Yeah, that one. I would. That would be a tough one to give to
It,
Emmett as well.
and I would be surprised if many people gave the fifth round to Emmett. I think most people would give the fifth round to Cater. So to me, it's like 2-1 for Cater, and it kind of comes down to the first and the second. And either one can be a toss up. So I have no issues with Josh Emmett winning a 48-47 decision. If you want to give all three of the first you want to give the first 2 rounds to Josh Emmett and give the last two to Calvin Kattar, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I get no issue with a 49-46 scorecard for Kattar, as I think only Emmett only cemented one round.
And On MMA decisions, I'm the only media member that gave 4 rounds to Kattar, so I look like
Okay.
this idiot outlier. But I swear they were really close rounds.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
3 years from now, when somebody DMs me on Twitter out of nowhere and calls me an idiot, I'm gonna have to remind myself they were close rounds.
Yeah, I didn't look at MMA decisions. What's the breakdown?
The breakdown: 5 people scored it for Emmett,
Okay.
5, 10, 14 scored it for Kattar. So it's 5 scores for Emmett, 14 for Kattar. 13 of the Kattar ones were 48-47. Mine was the only
Okay.
49-46.
So, being that I think 2 rounds to one are not really debatable, or I shouldn't say not debatable, but more likely, most people went one way or the other. I still have no issue. Like I said, I have no issue. I'm not calling this fight a robbery or anything like that. I just think like I expected more people to give it to Kattar because you got like Emmett has to win both of the toss up rounds.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like mathematically, the odds were in his favor.
I agree. Now, I've got a question for you about this one. Both guys probably could have done more to really put a stamp on these rounds and and
Yeah,
make it so this wasn't like up
absolutely.
in the air. Who do you think missed more of an opportunity here? Who do you think really could have should have done more than they
Yeah,
did?
yeah. I'm glad you asked me that. I'm gonna hold on that for a second. You want to read like some of the listeners'
Yeah, absolutely.
scorecard?
Uh,
Because honestly, we said it was 19 scorecards. I think you said 5 for Emmett, 14 for Kattar. At the end of the day, the guys in our chat, and shout out to all the guys in our chat. Bobby Boucher's in there, Technical Wealth, Kyle Lahi, Dev Goes Fishing,
yeah,
JT Schnell. This Kane's a Cat Bane's Revenge. I'm gonna mess up that name every time. So shout out to all those guys.
yeah.
If you've never been in our chat before, we just ask that you guys be respectful. That's one thing we meet every single week. We see like a lot of the usuals, and they're all really respectful. I care about these guys' decisions. Keith
Yeah.
Shule is another one. I care about their opinions more than MMA decisions. So give me
Yeah.
their
All right.
scorecards.
Keith Schuler has it rounds 2, 4, and 5 for Kattar, which it seems to be what the majority went with. Like most people who scored it for MMA decisions gave it 2, 4, 5 Kattar.
That's how I had it.
Kyle Lougheed says 3 rounds to 2 for Kattar, almost 4-1, so he's kind of where you and I are.
Yeah.
Technical Wealth has it 48-47 Kattar. Notes that today's judges were weird. Cad Bane's Revenge had it 2, 4, 5 for Kattar. Uh, you know, Kyle Lougheed all agrees. He's the only one who mentioned that he could see giving it 3-2 Emmett, but
Yeah.
nobody
I
seems to
can
be
see
calling
it.
this a robbery. Yeah,
Yeah, I can totally see it 3-2 for Emmett. Dev has a little beef with the cornering of New England Cartel. I actually have it completely opposite. I think Tyson Chardy was given really good advice. I don't think Kattar was listening to him, which is actually really ironic because that's something we've talked about Kattar in the past is his ability for his corner to call out things when he's flowing and he's failing himself. They'll call out things and he'll just throw exactly what they tell him to. I think it was Emmett's corner that might have let him down, saying, "Hey, you're up 3-1," which
okay,
obviously they were right. They were right.
they were right, but it's funny, dude. Like I was so surprised when they said that when they said after the 4th round it might be 3 rounds to 1 that I wasn't sure which way they meant. I thought they
Oh,
might
yeah,
be
that's a
telling him
good
he was
point.
down 3 rounds to 1.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm totally with you on that. But
yeah.
either
Were they saying? I don't think they were saying that. I think they were saying that he was up 3-1.
no,
But if they were
I think
saying he
you're
was down
right.
3-1,
I you think they were telling him he was up?
yeah, I think they were saying he was up
Yeah,
3-1.
I think you're right. And that was so weird for me to hear that at first I thought they must be telling him they thought he was down. But no,
Yeah,
afterward I think you were right.
and especially heading in the fifth, one of them's trying to telling their guy to coast. The other one's saying, "Dude, how bad you want it? Go get your hand raised. We need to win this round."
Yeah.
And he was right, and I think Kattar did do that. You asked a question: Who did?
Both of
Who
them could have
didn't?
done more, but whose fault
Yeah,
was it more that this
I'm
thing
glad you
was as
said.
close as it was?
Yeah, I'm going to say Kattar, obviously, because he's the one who lost.
Mhm.
I'm going to say this. One thing, I think Kattar respected Emmett's power a little too much. He was throwing long range, kind of point fighting shots. He felt to me like a car that was stuck in second gear. And
Mhm.
Emmett felt like to me a car that is driving in first gear for a really long period of time and then jams it up to fifth gear
Okay.
and then goes right back down to first gear.
And it's interesting you mentioned that because Bobby Boucher says the judging suffered from where the judge is positioned versus where the TV audience views it because of Emmett's bursts of action.
That is a really good point. We've talked about this before. I've actually judged in the past,
Mm-hmm.
and you get one angle, and yeah, that goes for every fight, not just this fight. That goes for every fight. We're not going to go on a judges thing because every single week. But yeah, that's something I agree with him. I think that's a major issue. It's something that we need to fix. I felt like, to me, who's going to win a race if you had to run a mile? The guy who jogs the mile, just your regular, I'm going to jog, I'm not going to stop. To me, that was Calvin Kattar. Or the guy who sprints a telephone pole, walks a telephone pole, sprints a telephone pole, walks a telephone pole. I don't know. I think it'd be probably pretty close to the same time. Same, same. I don't know. I'm not a track and field star or anything like that, but that's why I think this fight was so close. Because Calvin Kattar to me was just cruising the whole time,
Mm-hmm.
not really taking a chance, not putting himself. And I think if he really did, I think if he opened up a little bit more. I mean, he at one point he had late in the round he had Josh Emmett's eye pretty much almost closed.
Yep.
And Emmett, to his respect, I think he tried at times, and to him, you can't go fifth gear the whole time. I mean, you can't. He would have gassed out.
All right, I agree. He is a good-sized featherweight that I suspect has a significant weight cut, and he's able to hang in 5-round fights because he fights at a pace that's aggressive but deliberate. But one thing I'll say about him, I always think of him as underratedly powerful. Like he doesn't like starch a whole bunch of people with first-round knockouts, but he's a guy that once he gets rolling, you can tell that like the other guy's feeling it as Kattar starts to unload on him. And I was
He had
surprised.
he had Jeremy Stevens trying to wrestle him.
Yep. Yeah, Jeremy Stevens trying to wrestle him. Like and he's also generally nothing gets him too far out of his game. Like even in the Holloway fight where he was taking a arguable beatdown of the year of that year that kept him out of the game for a whole year. Mm-hmm. Even in the 5th round, he's still coming forward. He's still like trying to work his game, and he's still trying to win the fight. And
yeah.
If anything, he was more hesitant against Emmett tonight than he was against Max Holloway, 2 years ago.
I think Emmett probably hits harder than Max Holloway. It's pure pound for pound hitting, like power. I think Max Holloway, he obviously hits hard. It's freaking Max Holloway. He's one of arguably the best boxer in the history of the sport. He's up there. He's in the conference. He's in the club. But Emmett's the guy who will put you out one shot.
Mm-hmm.
So, let me ask you this. So to me, it came down to like Kattar's jab versus Emmett's power, Kattar's consistency. One thing I wish he let his hands go more, even the volume. Like he had a low output. He kind of picked it up. He built a little bit as he went on, but early on it was a low output jab game versus, versus the guy who's trying to throw heat. And it just looks like the first round was really close. And at the end, like the last 15 seconds, Emmett's like, hey, I'm just going to flurry and steal the round.
Yeah, that's pretty much how like the close rounds at least seem to play out. I asked on Twitter because I was handling the Twitter updates for the site tonight. When was the last time you saw a 5-round UFC fight that was this pure of a boxing match, that had this little of anything else? Because there were 0 successful takedowns in the fight. Like I think Emmett went like 0 for 4, 0 for 5, but none of them were really protracted attempts that took like 45 seconds out of the fight as they jockeyed around. Like he tried bail out on it, and then
neither
90% of the strikes were punches.
Neither guy's throwing kicks. It might be Calvin Kattar versus Max Holloway.
Yeah, I think.
I'm sure there's something else we're not thinking of in between, but yeah, it was strictly a boxing match. And if you told me it's strictly a boxing match, I would have thought Calvin Kattar would have won, and arguably he did. As far as why we didn't see wrestling, Josh Emmett tried to close the distance come time, tried to get some wrestling. At his age, I think his wrestling's just completely shot.
And considering he's had serious knee injuries, I think you're probably right.
Knee injuries, the age, the dropping down. Remember, he used to be a lightweight, dropping down to featherweight, changes his ability, probably his strength and everything. Keith Shillan talks about, I got to change the way I have this set up terrible today, where I have to look way over here to see people's comments. I don't know why. It's how I normally do, but it's bothering me for some reason. Keith Shillan says his like Kattar's technique equals power. Yeah, proper technique will. I'm going to change this a little bit. I apologize for the being extremely unprofessional here. Yeah, proper technique is going to lead power. I mean, he's still a guy who obviously hits the weights every single day. And if you throw punches, he's a bit. I mean, like Calvin Kattar's a really big featherweight.
Yeah.
Like he's huge.
And he's from up your neck of the woods. You've been face to face with Calvin Kattar.
He does
not look like a 145-pound man.
No, he looks like a middleweight.
Yeah.
Him next to Rob Font, like he dwarfs. And I know there's one weight class difference between them, but he dwarfs Rob Font.
Yeah. Like Rob Font is tall and kind of skinny. He looks like a big bantamweight. Like Kattar doesn't even look like a featherweight.
No, he's yeah. Let me ask you this, and I'll throw this out to the chat. Did the UFC win tonight?
Yes.
Okay, tell me why.
Because I think they have their next title challenger regardless of who wins between Holloway and Volkanovski, where if Kattar won, they didn't necessarily have that.
Yeah, that's exactly my point. I was going to say the same thing, because if Max Holloway beat Alex Volkanovski, and I know you could argue like this is a terrible situation that they have giving Max Holloway a third shot. If Holloway beats Volkanovski, you probably have to run a fourth fight. I mean, you can't give Max Holloway all these shots and not give Volkanovski. But if you decide to give somebody else, if Max Holloway wins, that's a really hard fight to sell after we've seen Max Holloway demolish Calvin Kattar. And what new
Calvin Kattar at Calvin Kattar's strength.
Yeah, like what new wrinkles has he added?
Yeah, just badly outbox Calvin Kattar, who is a boxer. Yeah.
It's a little. I don't know if Josh Emmett's the most marketable. He's a super nice guy, soft spoken. He has this fun game, and that's what you sell him on. You almost sell him on that like the gentle warrior, like soft spoken, but
talking
can
about
take
Emmett?
your head off. Yeah,
with Emmett, it would almost help if he was mean or an asshole, because he just looks so menacing. Like he's got kind of like the elf ears and like the lumpy head, the gnarly like he has tattoos of evil clowns on his back, dude.
Yeah, like he could if you were doing like a Breaking Bad show or something, or the Wire or something like this, he could be one of those guys in prison with the bald head. He could play like a skinhead. Not saying he's a skinhead. No, obviously, like, acting.
Yeah,
but he can look it like because he ripped up dude. Yeah, but he's completely opposite. He has this like soft spoken. Even his voice is like not intimidating at all. His voice doesn't fit his body. Who does he? All right, so let's do this. We'll get to matchmaking. Would you give Josh Emmett the next title shot?
Yes, I would.
Okay, me too. And we'll throw it out there in the chat. Is anybody else not giving Josh Emmett a title shot? Just tell us in the chat if you're not giving, because I think everyone's giving him a title shot. You kind of more than it has to do just from, especially if Volkanovski wins, you kind of wiped out the division. Yeah. Oh, I guess actually Holloway too. Who does he? All right, I'm going to say a statement and tell me how much you agree with this. He is a much tougher stylistic matchup for Alex Volkanovski than he is Max Holloway, because to me, we saw him really struggle with the JV version of Max Holloway.
I am 100% on board. I mean, my whole thought is, and this is not anything against Josh Emmett. I think he's a great fighter. He's fun to watch. He's overdue for this, and it just makes my heart happy that he stayed healthy long enough and strung together enough wins that he seems to be the de facto choice for next title shot. I'm happy for all of that, but what is he going to do to Max Holloway? Like, what in his game threatens Max Holloway at all? Like leaping and blocking him with one big shot?
Yeah, he's going to have a puncher's chance against anybody, but Max Holloway doesn't get hurt.
Exactly.
Like he's got a legendary chin. Now, of course, we've had guys in the past who have legendary chins and then suddenly they don't.
Sure.
Like, obviously, and that could happen. And Max Holloway, he's taking a lot of damage. Remember, he had that little spell where he was like, still unexplained, where he was really loopy in an interview and everything. I mean, that's going back quite a ways now. But, yeah, he could. And it's kind of ironic to say, well, he's a tougher threat and he'd probably land a big shot, knock out Volkanovski before he knocks off Holloway, considering we've never seen Volkanovski knocked out, or really never really seen Volkanovski that hurt. Nope. I mean, Chad Mendes, I think, was the last one actually like hurt Volkanovski. But how is Chad Mendes built? And honestly, Chad Mendes is very similar to Josh Emmett,
Yeah,
a wrestler boxer who throws serious power and built. Um, just the height, everything. I think he's just a much tougher matchup for Volkanovski.
agreed.
And
I'm
it'd be
totally
really
with you.
fun. Would it be really fun to watch?
It would really be fun. I mean, he and Volkanovski have the same basic build. They have a lot of the same skills, although Volkanovski, I think he's a more measured and versatile boxer. He's a much better kicker, especially at this point in their respective careers. Uh, I mean, I don't think Emmett matches up great against either of these guys, mostly because Volkanovski is just so smart. But yeah,
Yeah,
against Holloway, I'm just
I
literally
totally
like,
agree.
what are you gonna do to him?
But you know what I love about, and I probably should ask this question, is Emmett like one of the most overlooked title contenders in recent history? Because this guy keeps getting matched up against guys who look like really, really tough stylistic matches for him, and he keeps winning.
He
Now,
does.
again, you could argue that he didn't win tonight, but
Mm-hmm.
he at least put him in a position to have the opportunity to get his hand raised.
Absolutely, because while I scored this fight for Kattar, I expected this to be much more one-sided than it was. I thought Kattar was going to be rolling downhill on Emmett by the late rounds. You know,
Yeah, so did I.
he was going to figure out the range, figure out the distance, and one of us picked a one-sided decision, the other of us picked a
I called
finish
him
in the
starch
late
him. I
rounds.
called him starch him like third or fourth round.
Yeah,
I can't
okay,
remember
yeah,
which
you're
round.
the one
Yeah,
who called for him to just starch him, and I thought that's what it was going to be too. He's just going to start getting desperate. He'd run into one of those spinning elbows, or Kattar would just, the accumulation of damage, but it never happened. Uh,
yeah. I expected him to be swinging at air, have a puffed up eye, and then finally put him out. Keith Shula points out that Emmett is 4-1 as an underdog in his last 5 fights or something like that. Uh, I know he's won 5 in a row, so it might be 5 out of 6,
yeah,
or maybe out of the last 5 he wasn't an underdog in one of them, and he was the underdog in 4 of them or something like that. Yeah, he has a little bit of that Glover Teixeira thing going on with him, where
yeah,
he keeps being the underdog and he keeps winning.
but I'm
Oh,
glad
like
this is
Jan
happening
Blachowicz.
now. Yeah, because I mean, he is in a division that is not kind to the elderly, and not only does he have a good bit of age on him and injury, his is in particular a style that's always relied on fast twitch athleticism. Shooting
Yeah.
double legs from the outside, leaping in on bigger guys with overhands. It's now or never. So glad it's
Well,
probably now.
yeah. And back to the point, like his wrestling's completely gone. Like when's the last time we ever seen him wrestle? And I think Kyle Lahi asked, would Movsar Evloev out wrestle Emmett right now?
Oh yes.
He's asking the question, but he's more putting it as a statement like that he would. Yeah, I'd have to take Evloev in a wrestling in MMA wrestling, not a
Yeah.
NCAA wrestling match. That's completely different. But yeah, I have no confidence Josh Emmett's wrestling. It just happens. Like people always they hear NCAA wrestler, this or that, and I'm gonna go on a side tangent for a second. When Bo Nickel coming into MMA right now just had his debut, and he even made a statement about being the best wrestler in MMA, and people went like crazy and like, oh my god, Henry Cejudo won an Olympic gold medal and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, like 12 years ago, Bo Nickel was wrestling to make the Olympic team, lost to gold medalist David Taylor. He would have made the Olympic team. He won a world championship 2 years ago. Yes, Bo Nickel's the best wrestler. Yeah, is he as credentialed as Henry Cejudo? No, but Henry Cejudo wouldn't even make the trials now.
Nope.
Actually, before someone asks me, actually, technically, what anytime you've ever medaled in the Olympics, you qualify for the trials. But you get my point. He wouldn't be a threat. So don't at me. I understand that. Actually, that might not be true. That actually might be last in Olympics. So that actually might not be true. But double check that. Calvin Kattar, what are we doing with him?
Okay, so Calvin Kattar, I like him. He needs a step back. He may still be a top 5 quality guy, but he needs a step back, and someone behind him deserves a step up. If you think he still belongs at least orbiting the airport, then give him the loser of Ortega versus Rodriguez.
Yeah, I thought about that. I didn't go that way, but yeah, I thought about that.
Otherwise, maybe he goes back down to take on an Evloev type. Like, just give somebody at the edges of the top 10 their chance against like a big name.
Yep. We talked about Evloev a couple weeks ago. We said he deserves a big name, and this is what I'm giving him. I'm giving Evloev. I'm giving him Calvin Kattar. I'm giving him a co-main event of a really good fight night, or pay-per-view opener or something like that.
Absolutely. This like Kattar is. I mean, it probably isn't quite high stakes enough to headline a fight night, although the standard for what qualifies for headlining a fight night has definitely slipped since we have 35 fight nights a year now. But yeah, like it belongs up there on a main card. Be nice for Kattar to get a 3-round fight again. Uh, Dev goes fishing. One last comment about this. Thinks Kattar might want to take a look at a different camp. Man,
Man,
they're
he's
called
dogging.
they're called the New England Cartel for a reason, man.
Yeah.
Like blood in, blood out. Like he's not leaving alive. Kattar's gonna get some
I
cement
don't I
shoes
don't
and
think the camp is the issue. I love Dev. He's my
yeah.
boy. I disagree. I don't think the camp's the issue. I really don't. I mean, I know that you could argue the small camp, training with the same guys, everything. I think Tyson Chardy is a fantastic coach. I think he gives incredible advice. I don't think Kattar followed it. What do you want? I mean, the guy gave perfect advice.
I mean, I guess you
And
could.
he argued still won.
Yeah, and I thought he won. I thought he won 4 rounds, but
So did I. So did most people here. If he got his hand raised right now, we'd be talking about him fighting for a title.
yeah, if he'd won, I'd be like, okay, he gets the next shot if Volkanovski beats Holloway, you know, and I'd be saying,
what a disaster did the UFC avoid by having Kattar lose? I know we were kind of touched on it a little bit, but I mean, yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't be a complete disaster because it's not like there's a shortage of people ready to step up at featherweight, you know, but it's definitely better this way.
Well, I mean, really at the top though, there is. I mean, I guess if Yair Rodriguez would have, well, no, because Yair recently lost to Max Holloway. If Holloway, like, it's just,
Yep.
yeah, not good. But the fight overall, we're gonna get to the grade of the card. Grade the fight.
I'd give the fight a B.
Yeah,
Like every round was close, but I was frustrated at the end. One, because I didn't agree with the decision, and two, because I felt both fighters could have done a lot more.
I loved at the end. I don't know if you caught this. There was maybe about 10, 15 seconds left, and Emmett's trying to close the distance, trying to throw bombs. And, it had to be the 10-second clapper goes off, and Emmett does that, like, let's throw down in the center. And I'm like, you had a better chance of asking Calvin Kattar to, like, let's have a, like, breakdancing battle or a rap battle than him stand in the pocket and throw down with you with 10 seconds. Like, that was not happening.
Yeah.
Credit for Josh Emmett for trying.
Yeah.
Let's get to the rest of the card, which let me ask you this. And you just said this was a great main event. You said you gave it a B. Everyone else, I gave it a B minus. People throwing Bs. I mean, it was a great. It wasn't, you weren't disappointed.
No.
Was that the low point of the entire card?
It was definitely one of them. I mean,
what would you say
it was a low point of the men's fights on the card?
What would you say was least? I mean, are you gonna say what the? Oh, okay. I like. Well, we'll get the other ones. I think I like the girls' fights, the female fights better. I actually think it was a low card point of the entire card.
Yeah, I mean it's up there. It's up there again. Just frustrating, just because it could have been a better fight.
Bess says, "Thank God Joe Lazarn got hurt, so he couldn't ruin the card." We don't thank God that Joe Lazarn got hurt.
No,
you can thank him that the fight didn't happen. We don't thank God that a good guy like Joe Lazarn got hurt. Come on, Bess.
No. The only thing he couldn't ruin tonight was Donald Cerrone's face, because that's what would have happened.
Yeah, and I know
first round finish.
Obviously, I know Bess is joking. He didn't really want to see him get hurt, but we're in the same boat. I'm not really interested in that fight. Kevin Holland having his follow-up sophomore fight in the welterweight division took on Tim Means, won by second-round submission. I don't know why I'm doing this grading. Great Kevin Holland's performance. What do you give his performance?
A. I mean,
yeah,
he gave Means a little too much. Like, Means was able to impose his game more than I expected him to be able to, but Holland never took any serious damage. Won the first round, finished him savagely in the second. I mean, it was a great performance. Not many people make Tim Means look like an easy out, and Holland did.
What surprised me, not that he, you always when dropping weight that he has power. He showed power in back-to-back fights, but it kind of goes both ways. Some guys drop weight and because of the bad weight cut, they don't have the power, but other guys, being now that they're the bigger guy in the weight class or at least equal size, they have power. which really surprised me about Calvin Kattar going down to welterweight. And again, it could be the two guys he's going against. He went against two older guys in the division, kind of journeyman, and Cowboy Oliveira and Tim Means a back-to-back fight. But he looks fast. Like he looks faster at welterweight than he did at middleweight, which is really surprising. And I think some of that is not carrying poor weight.
Yeah, but no, his physical transformation from 170 or from 185 to 170. I mean, we're gonna get to Roman Dolidze later on this card. That I've already said that about him dropping from 205 to 185. Same thing for Holland because he doesn't look like the same guy, just more dehydrated. He's clearly made smart adjustments, and yeah, he looked fantastic. He looks like a real live welterweight and a real live matchup problem at welterweight. You know, there aren't many guys his size at welterweight. There aren't many guys, there are even fewer guys his size at welterweight that make good use of their size to dictate distance.
Yeah, it's not many guys who get matched up with Tim Means and look equal size to Tim Means. Like Tim Means is massive welterweight. That's always kind of been his calling card of the division. The one thing that so he looks good, he's powerful. I like that he was throwing a lot of combinations. Like it wasn't just one punch. Still have a big concern at his defense wrestling. He was taken down by Tim Means, but he popped right back up. And I think that's another thing where I see improvement at welterweight is because we have these middleweights who take him down, but he doesn't have these hulking guys like Derek Brunson
and Marvin Vettori just on your chest.
Ugh. Yeah, and both those guys could be light heavyweights. They're huge dudes.
Yeah.
I think it was Dev that said Josh Emmett and Marvin Vettori could be related, except for personalities. But look, maybe guys are throwing out there. Kevin Holland is a guy that he's headlined many UFCs, so he has for a guy who really hasn't accomplished that much, like name recognition, like in the sense of guys on your resume that you've defeated. He doesn't have huge names. But because of his personality, he's fun in interviews, trash talking or just talking. I shouldn't say trash, but just talking in fights. Very likable guy. Mm-hmm. He's headlined, and he's always willing to fight like every day. He's headlined a lot of UFC, so he has a more of buzz about him than he has actually accomplished. So to me, like his next fight needs to be a name.
And
agree to disagree.
And even more so than Khamzat Chimaev or Joaquin Buckley, he is the guy that took best advantage of the first year of COVID to just make himself into a person in the UFC. Just make himself into a star. I agree he needs a name next. I love some of the names coming out here. I'll call them out. Like Kyle Lougheed likes Jeff Neal. Boz mentions Magny fighting Rachmanov next week, which I'm about to get back to. Dev says Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez or the loser of the Magny Shavkat fight. I like him against the winner.
Higher Low said that one too. Higher Low said Daniel Rodriguez too.
I like him against the winner of the Magny Shavkat fight because you know what? Shavkat Rachmanov, he's got the 0, so he's always going to get a little more juice, but it's not like he's accomplished more in the UFC than Holland has. Like his best wins match up with Holland's best wins, but dude, he called out the worst possible style matchup. Like
that's exactly what I tweeted out.
You think his biggest problem is I saw you mention. Like you mentioned his biggest problem is defensive wrestling. I think his biggest problem is defensive wrestling. And he calls out the worst possible style matchup for himself, just a powerful, heavily built, just grindy wrestler who also is a great submission artist. I love the balls on this guy.
Yeah.
And you know what? If he runs through Sean Brady, or you know what? If he has struggles early against Sean Brady and then exposes the gas tank problems that we know have to be there, what else do you need to see from Holland before he hits the top 5 guys?
Yeah, after you fought in Derek Brunson, upper weight class, Marvin Vettori, Jacare Sousa, who else? Brandon Allen. Who else has he fought at middleweight? Like studs.
Yeah.
After you fought those guys, there's probably one welterweight you might not say yes to, and that's Chimaev. I don't know if anybody wants to say yes to that guy.
Nobody wants.
Even though he was getting beat, he's got. Good.
And back in 2020, he was saying it when nobody wanted Chimaev. He was like, "I'll fight him at 170 or 185."
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Chimaev might be loaded, but I did watch Kadyrov beating up Chimaev on video, so maybe he's not that good.
Oh, good.
I didn't realize how good that guy is. Like unbelievable. um, uh, yeah, he's got some balls on that dude, but Sean Brady's a bad stylistic matchup for him. Just so I'm a theme of the night is I'm giving young guys names. I'm giving them big names. I'm giving young guys names, and I'm going higher names than you think, like than I usually am. I'm giving him Stephen Thompson. I'm giving him a fight night main event against Stephen Thompson.
Beautiful. No tape study off the cuff. Who do you favor in that one?
I might give it to Holland. Thompson he's up there in age. He showed decline. Yeah, obviously Bilal Muhammad's a much different stylistic fighter than Kevin Holland, but he's slowing down, and he's been dropped a lot by fighters that going back to like the Tyler Woodley fights, the Darren Till, and yeah, I think I favor Holland. How about you?
Well, it's tough for me to be impartial now because Holland has relocated his training to Houston. He is with Crew Bob Perez at Main Street Muay Thai.
Okay.
So, I'm gonna have to go with him. But like, obviously, if Thompson has slipped enough, anything can happen. But considering that Holland, under his best circumstances, wants the exact kind of outfight that's really, you can argue that almost nobody in the history of the UFC has done it as well as Thompson. It's a sneaky tough fight for him. I think he might actually have to turn to fighting more of an infight against Thompson. Like if they were to make that fight for whatever reason, I would be excited to break it down.
My point is this: if he can't beat Stephen Thompson at this point, then he's not a contender anyways.
Yeah,
just move on.
That's a fair point.
Figure it out right away. Move on. Dev goes fishing. Try being funny, saying. Also, Keith, Holland is out here doing your job as a police officer. So apparently, Kevin Holland stopped someone who robbed. They said perfume. I didn't follow the story at all. What was it?
He's stopped crimes in progress after his last two fights before this one.
Oh, it was two.
Yeah. Yeah. He stopped the carjacking 2 fights ago. Then last time he stopped someone trying to like grab and dash from like a department store.
Okay, so as far as the department store one, he's not doing my job. I'm a major crimes detective. Yeah. I don't just minor shit like that. You put some respect in my name, brother. I ain't some rookie. Let's move on. So I said Stephen Thompson. I'm sorry. Who would you let? You threw tons of names out there.
I threw tons of names out there. My pick would be the Magny Rachmanov winner.
Yeah, and honestly, he'd probably get a fight 2 weeks from now when someone pulls out. So probably. I mean, you could probably ask him. He would have jumped in and cut down to 155. Can we do this too? Going back to the Lausanne Cerrone fight, can we have these guys stop cutting weight? Like, just agree. Like, hey, we'll fight at 168.
Well, considering that the fight's been killed now once because of like digestive problems and once because of like somebody like cramping and locking up, both of which are common problems with weight cutting. Yeah. If you really want this fight to happen, make it at 170.
Yeah, 172 or something. Like, whatever.
Make it literally whatever weight you want to be. Like, Joe Lauzon and Donald Cerrone are both naturally skinny guys. Neither of them is going to show up fat enough that it gives them an advantage.
Like, they can talk on their own, and then 2 or 3 days out, they decide, hey, we have to be within 5 pounds of each other. How close are you going to be? Oh, I'm walking around 177. I'm walking around 174. All right, we're good. Anyways, just floating through throws out Michelle Pahea versus Kevin Holland.
That'd be a lot of fun.
I never knew I wanted that before, but yeah, good call. Like just floating through, which I hope he's not just floating through. I hope he sticks around. Let's move on. We talked off air on the preview show. And I picked Duraev, and I said to you, Ben, I was picking Buckley, and I talked myself out of it. What the hell, dude? Why didn't you know that I was picking Buckley, and why did you let me talk myself out of as Buckley beat Duraev? Second round stoppage, he didn't come out for the third round. The doctor stopped it. Buckley looked better than I've ever seen him.
Buckley looked better than I've ever seen him either. I expected that the Buckley moment was never going to come and that Duraev was going to get takedowns in at least 2 of the 3 rounds. Not only did Duraev struggle badly to get the takedown, but Buckley had numerous Buckley moments. By the end of the second round, Durayev's eye looked like the ass of a baboon when it's like all red, purple, and swollen. And once
Yeah.
we were at baboon ass stage, this thing was over.
Yeah. And Ben, you are an expert when it comes to baboon
I
asses.
am,
Like I
yes.
know you're studying it a lot. And it's funny because his left side, he couldn't miss on the left side, which would have been Durayev's right side eye. So he's blasting that one, and then he busts up the other side eye, which was pretty crazy. More than his accuracy, and we always knew his power was there. And of course, when we're talking about the best he's looked, we're not talking about that crazy knockout. Obviously, that was his best moment. But I mean, overall pillar to post performance, Buckley looks sensational. His takedown defense was so impressive to me, and his ability to land shots in close distance, like stuffing a takedown and landing a shot before they break, like little things like that, drawing power in those little spaces. I'm feeling way better about Buckley after this performance moving forward. I mean, he's on a little bit of a winning streak right now. He just looks really good.
I agree with you. I mean, it's always going to be tough to pick somebody who, I mean, he's a round winner if he's just beating the shit out of somebody, but generally speaking, he waits for those moments of offense and he needs finishes. Uh, but
Yeah.
here he looked a little more measured, and his defensive wrestling was better. It's taken me a long time to forget the Joaquin Buckley that just got completely nullified by Logan Storley in Bellator, even though he was
Yeah.
twice Storley's size. But if he, I mean, this
And
this is.
sorry to interrupt. That loss has aged pretty well.
Oh yeah, it absolutely has. I mean, that factors into it as well. But this is a Buckley that I can sort of believe in, especially because he's in a division where you can kind of slalom through the polls to get into contention because it's an old division. A lot of the top guys have already fought each other. If you're a highlight machine like he is, you're going to kind of get the benefit of the doubt. I mean, he might only be 2 more wins away from being in like a title eliminator type matchup.
He might be 2 wins away, but the question is, do you think Shemaev and Darren Till knows who he is yet?
Ooh, that's a good question. They probably don't. Or like Shemaev still doesn't know. Till knows, but he wants to keep playing it up, like and pretending he doesn't
Yeah,
know because it must infuriate him. Yeah.
yeah. Till absolutely like Till is making predictions and on Twitter and whatnot. Like he knows who he is, but yeah, Shemaev has no idea who he is. Before that, a fight that I was probably the most interested on the entire card, Damir Izmagulov versus Goran Kutateladze. Two really exciting, I shouldn't say young up and comers because they're both very established, obviously, but they just seems like newer guys on the
They're both
scene.
over 30.
Yeah, they're not young, but I mean like they're not known
Right.
to the casual fans. They're known to the hardcores. Uh, really good fight. We'll get to the scoring of the fight in a second, but what I'll say about this fight is both guys are really good, and both guys are issues for like they're. I don't think a lot of guys got to be excited when they get booked against these guys next.
No. These are guys. This, in a lot of ways, was the highest level fight on the card, just in terms of fewest mistakes, uh, just kind of highest level skills being. I don't know if you can still hear me. Can,
Yeah, you broke up for a second,
okay.
but
Just in terms of the skills being put on display, in terms of yeah, it was just a super tense fight because they were so evenly matched.
I get. But the guys can't see you on screen.
Yeah,
I
I'm
can
I'm
hear
fix
you.
I'm
Oh,
fixing it.
okay. I just want to make sure you. Um, yeah. So let me ask you this. So the fight was incredible. I actually thought Ismagulov fought the wrong fight. I thought he should have been trying to get more to the pocket. I thought he should have been trying to crowd the kicker, and he wasn't. He was kind of staying in the range. I scored the fight 29-28 for Kutateladze. I gave him the first and third round. How did you score the fight?
I gave it to uh, Kutateladze as well. I gave him the first and third.
Okay. So we'll throw it out to the chat. You guys tell us how you guys scored. And I don't think it's a robbery either way, but I have a huge issue with one of the scorecards. Now, they originally called it a majority draw. They somehow, the guys in Texas can't can't count.
Okay, what the
Tens
hell
and
is going
nines,
on?
and they had it 28 somehow. I don't know how they screwed that up, but they fixed it. So one of the scorecards gave it to uh, Kutateladze. I know I'm saying his name incorrectly, but and then two for Izmagulov. The card that I had a major issue with, and I like is the Jason Staffen scorecard of 30-27 for Uzmagulov when Uzmagulov almost got knocked out in the first round.
I don't see how you can
There's no
possibly
fucking
score.
way you can score that fight, that 30-27. If
Agreed.
when they said 30-27, they said 28-28, then they said I think 29-28, 30-27. I go, oh, Kutateladze won. I actually called this upset pick. Like if you get 30-27, it's going the other way. Because to me, the second and third round are close. The
Yeah,
one decisive round is the first round for Kutateladze.
yeah. That's the only round that was really unquestionable. Do you care much about the weird wrong foul call towards the end of the fight by Herb Dean?
I don't know if it was wrong, and I'll say this: I know they showed it on the replay. They never like zoomed in, and it was like he's ducking his chin. There's a knee. I think Kutateladze is trying to hit him in the chest, but he's ducking his chin. It's really close from like chin, chest, upper chest, chin. I really don't know what he hit because they showed it two times. They didn't slow it down. They had it in full speed almost every time. Um, I don't know. I when they re-show it, I have no issue with. I'll say this: like we have the luxury of replay in real time. I actually thought the same thing. I thought it was an illegal knee.
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Oh shit, he just kneed him." So like, I have no issue with Herb Dean stopping it.
Just my thing is, he stopped the fight, but I mean, after enough time that at least we all watched the replay. I don't know whether he saw it or not. He still was saying that's an illegal strike.
Yeah,
If you do anything, I mean, there were only 8 seconds left in the fight. I don't know what he was going to do, but
maybe that's probably why he didn't take a point away.
yeah.
I still don't know if it was legal. Like, I'm not saying it was or wasn't. I just think like we never got like a. I think they just were starting up right back quickly that we never really got a decisive answer. Like I know the broadcast group said twice that it was to the chest. Um, I don't know if it was.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it probably had much bearing on the fight. It was super late in the fight. I think, I don't think it changed the way you would have scored that last round.
Yeah,
So,
Keith Shillan mentioned that they didn't stop the clock. Yeah, they let it run like 20 seconds before they stopped it. And then they're like, the guy gets up, they call timeout. I don't know if you caught this. The clapper guy claps the things. I'm like, wait, what are you doing? They stop. Like, why is it still running?
guys, I live in Texas. I go to a lot of local events. Texas regulation is rough. There's a reason that basically every other Texas card, there's something that happens that's just so bad that everybody's like tweeting at Dana saying never go back to Texas until
Yeah,
they
yeah.
they fix this shit, and they keep coming back because you know uh, there's a Fertitta that owns the Toyota Center here in Houston.
Yeah. The one thing when they go on the road, I always remind myself, like, yeah, Las Vegas ain't that bad. Like Las Vegas is actually pretty damn good compared to these other states. Um, so again, I looked at MMA decision. It was 10-4 for Kutateladze.
Mm-hmm.
I should have looked this up because there's one guy who's a betting expert. I don't really trust his opinion on scoring because a lot of the time the betting experts they don't care about how they actually scored it, but they want to score it for how they bet to make themselves look better. Not saying this guy did that, just for the record. I can't remember the guy's name. Um, so I kind of always ignore his a little bit. Um, Izmagulov is 24-1. He's now 5-0 in the UFC. Again, like I think it was even though I thought he lost, I thought it was a really good performance from him anyways. And I thought he actually is so good with his jab in a fight that he didn't fight the way he should have. I thought he should have been crowning. He couldn't. He tried a couple of wrestling. He couldn't take him down. That was really impressive by Kutateladze. But imagine the hype on Izmagulov right now. And I know we say this every time. Imagine if he was 25-0.
If he's 25-0, he'd probably have been in the title eliminator tonight. The only problems would still be that he doesn't fight as often as he could, and he has a weight problem occasionally. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they did a good job on the post fight, like kind of hyping himself. He's in the best division. He's 24-1. His record, I feel the same way I feel with Kevin Holland. He just beat a really good guy. So he's got the tough tests. Like he's done that. He's shown he can pass the tough tests. To me, now he needs the name. Do you agree with that?
I know I completely agree. He needs a name. He needs a name to get him into the conversation where he belongs based on
A
performances.
name that I'm going with a name that the casuals know. I'm throwing out the chat. Give me who you think Izmagulov should fight next. Ben, do you want to tell me your name first? I'm gonna tell you. I bet you my name's gonna be more surprising than yours.
I like someone like the Fiziev Dos Anjos winner,
Okay,
especially if it's Dos Anjos.
okay. I'm going a bigger name than that. I'm going
Yeah.
Conor McGregor. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going
No.
Conor McGregor. I'm going pretty fucking close to that. I'm giving Tony Ferguson.
I mean, he slaughters Ferguson.
He absolutely saw this first thing,
Yeah.
but I know. But I like you got to give this guy a name. Why not use Tony Ferguson to get over like the next guy?
Yeah.
So
And Ferguson will take it because he ain't scared of nothing.
yeah. Anything else you want to talk about this fight before we move on?
I don't think so.
All right. Julian Marquez take on Gregor Rodriguez. Julian Marquez got his ass handed to him. Gregor Rodriguez ran right through him.
Yeah, he put up a valiant fight. I mean, Marquez is a tough brawler with an opportunistic like grappling game.
Yeah.
When you just say it that way, is there a worse style matchup like within his same general rankings
Yeah.
area than
It's
Gregory
funny.
Rodriguez, who hits like a truck and is a world champion at jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, so I want to remind people the previous show that we'll talk about odds and stuff because we know people like, but we're not gamblers. But that's not what our show. Our show is a straight pick'em show. We
Yeah.
give advice. We hardly ever talk about we mention the odds, but we don't say like, oh yeah, if he hits this number, bet on this guy. But if the line opens up this way, then I like this. Like like the bet. Like I did a show a couple weeks ago with Garrett Kerman, and that's exactly how he thinks of fights. That's not what we do. It's cool when people make money and they say, "Hey, you influence." Cool. And honestly, I never get the assholes like, "Hey, you picked this guy and I bet against him." Like we don't get. I never get. I don't know if you have. I always get like the best interaction with listeners. Everyone's always super cool. So hopefully it
Cool.
stays that way. But when I saw the betting line, and it was like somewhat close. It was like negative 160 for Rodriguez. And I'm like, how is this guy not like a negative 400? This is the worst. He's better than Marquez everywhere. And the one thing Marquez kind of has for him is that like strong man. He can't even like out muscle this guy. Like
Nope.
what? The only thing I thought of is he gets this is Dev mentioned the President Obama lookalike. It, the only thing this guy has is maybe he hits him with 200 power shots and tires himself out from
Yep.
by cleaning Marquez's clock for
Which
10 minutes.
I kind of started wondering about that late in the first round. Well, not that late. The thing ended in 3.5 minutes, but after he had beat him all across the cage for like 2 minutes, and they just kind of stopped for a sec, I was like, "Is Rodriguez gassed?" But no, they went right back at it. And Marquez, he's a brawler, so he just tried to stand in there with them and give it all back. And he tagged him a couple times, but the artillery coming his way was so much worse. And that last one, he was out. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, he looked really good. Rodriguez is really really well rounded. He has his power in his hands, both hands. He's got this great jiu-jitsu. If he can just improve his cardio a little bit, and actually you've seen him go deep into fights, he's a real problem. Like I like this guy a lot.
I agree. I didn't have the highest expectations of him, but he's beaten a prospect I was higher on than him in Dusko Todorovic, and then he hung right in there with someone in Arman Petrosian that I was much higher on than him. Time to give this guy his props. And again,
Yeah.
this is middleweight. How much more does he have to do to get a big fight? Not
Oh,
much.
yeah. I think he fights a name next. We're not gonna matchmake all the way down the card, but yeah, I think he's getting facing a fairly stiff text next. Um, before that, a fight that it wasn't the main event, but it almost had a main event feel because Adrian Yanez taking on Tony Kelly. There's some backstory in that and whatnot, but everybody, I don't know anybody. Now, obviously, your bias, Adrian Yanez is from Houston. I've interviewed him in the past. He's a super cool dude. I don't know anybody who doesn't just absolutely love Adrian Yanez. Like every fan loves this guy, and we are like we've been backing him. Like we talk about his talents off the charts. Why does everyone love this dude? Because it's guys we've seen guys with talents, we've seen guys with like good personalities, but like everyone I know loves this guy.
Well, there's just he's got everything. I mean, he's a blisteringly fun fighter to watch. He is a very good fighter. He has the story. I mean, his this was back when he was still in LFA before he like was even on the Contender Series. But like, his dad was a pretty significant figure here in the combat sports scene in Houston. His dad was a boxer, and then his first boxing and kickboxing coach. He's a guy that you'd see around at the shows, and he passed away like tragically from cancer, and I believe it was 2016.
Yeah, yeah.
Then obviously there was the whole Salsalese thing that happened after Yanez was already in the UFC, and Yanez is this 27-year-old who's practically running Metro Fight Club while he's preparing for his own fights. Like, how could you not root for this guy?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I love the guy. I think everyone loves him. He's 5-0 in the UFC. Of those five, I think he had four unbelievable performances. He had that one performance against Davy Grant where he still beat a really good guy in Davy Grant, but it wasn't like, oh my God, this guy's the next big thing. But what I mentioned, as you just mentioned, his coach just died before that. And it's like something that we don't really look at too much is these kind of things, the changes, the personal life side, the human part. We don't really, well, we can't really dig too much in because nobody knows other than the fighter what's going on in the head. Uh, I think it's safe to say that that was the outlier. That wasn't a
Yeah.
step up in competition. I think I just like to me, this guy's the limit for this guy. Um, he's so accurate. He is so accurate. Great timing, and we've talked about this many times. He couldn't miss with his right hook, and it was we've talked about it so many times. Pillaring. You can't pillar in MMA, and he was just wrapping it right around. You can just in boxing you can because the big gloves and everything, and they kind of they're better at keeping their shoulders high, and there's a lot more defensive technique and backing up against the ropes and everything. He was just wrapping it right around Tony Kelly's defense, and then he come down low. Oh, it was unbelievable. It was like punching bag rounds. It's so impressive. A perfect example of what he was doing, and I don't want to give this guy props, but what Jake Paul did to Tyron Woodley,
Mm-hmm.
where he just wrapped it right around. And that's actually a boxing match, but wrapped it
Yeah.
around the pillaring. Adrian's looks so good. Let's matchmake this guy. I know we said we're not going to matchmake the whole card, but let's matchmake this guy. We'll throw it out to the chat. Giannis Dev says he got to interview Adrian Yanez, so that's cool. Before his UFC debut, so that's really cool. Bobby Boucher said he wished the fight had gone on like 10 more seconds for the
For the
people.
people.
Yeah, I'm not getting into that. I know why he's saying that, but I think we've both given Tony Kelly a little bit of a pass on that one.
We've weighed in on it and
Yeah,
said that Yanez made a good point. He's like, I'm already trying to knock him out. What am I going to do? Knock him out harder?
yeah,
But
that's a good quote.
uh,
Yeah,
Boss has nailed this. The O'Malley versus Pedro Munoz winner. The O'Malley fight is the fight that I want to see.
okay. I'm gonna disagree. I'll tell you why. So Kyle Johnson throws out Jonathan Martinez and or Montel Jackson would be lit. Yeah, that'd be fun. I just think Giannis. Well, Montel Jackson has got some really good wins, and he's kind of probably a little. He's kind of one of these guys. I look at Montel Jackson much different than Jonathan Martinez and Giannis, but um, I just don't want the young rising guys fighting each other.
Okay.
I know that's that boxing mentality in me where it's like I only want these guys to take each other out at the very highest points, build the fight. Um, I'm going with a name. I'm gonna go with a bigger name than Sean O'Malley. If you could believe that.
What do you got?
I'm sacrificing another legend to the gods. I'm giving him Frankie Edgar.
Oh, you're so evil.
I know. But tell me that's not the fight to make. If you really believe that this is the next guy in the division, he's got the personality, he's got the hype.
Well, I mean, I tell you this much: Frankie Edgar is still a good boxer. I mean, he's not the boxer he was 8 years
No,
ago, but he's still a good
he's
boxer.
he's a great still wrestler.
Yeah, he's still a very good wrestler.
And that was the way Adrian Yanez last loss was from wrestling.
Yep.
Miles Johns, I think, was his last loss.
Yeah, Miles Johns back in LFA, and even his other losses before that, Domingo Pilarte wasn't as much of one, but Levi Malls was, and that was a million years ago. No, it's been a long time since anyone's outstruck Adrian Yanez. I mean, dude, you look at the two guys. If the person didn't know the two guys, and you just lined up him and Tony Kelly next to each other and said, which of these guys hits harder? It is like
which of these guys is a professional fighter?
Yeah. He's not a big bantamweight. He doesn't overswing. We talked earlier about the power that just comes from proper technique. That is Adrian Yanez.
Yeah.
Everything's just got lead in it.
It's funny, something similar to Kyle Lahi. He was talking about a good kickboxer, a wrestler beats Yanez, but he's talking about the boxing. Yeah, that's very similar to Calvin Kattar, who we saw in the main event. They have very similar style, like different, little different than Yanez. He's more of a timing guy, while Kattar's more of a range guy. But the point is, it's like they do it with their hands. Yeah. I'm all in. So you're going the route, and you're going the route where I think the UFC will go. But when we do these matchmaking, we're the ultimate emperors. Kyle Johnson goes Chris Gutierrez, ultimate bantamweight puncher versus a kickboxer matchup. That would be a fun fight too. It's just a really, really great division.
It is.
So that was the main card. Do you want to get to the prelims, or do you want to do the awards?
Well, let's see what I've got here.
Well, let's do the prelims. You have the awards?
That's what I'm making sure.
All right, while you're looking, we'll kind of
I've got
Did they give awards? Did they give awards, or did they do like everyone gets a bonus?
For the second week in a row, fight of the night, there is a fight of the night, but performances of the night, everyone that scored a finish.
Is the main event the fight of the night?
Yes.
Yeah. I actually don't
Kattar versus Emmett, your fight of the night. Performances of the night go to all 8 finishers. There were 7 knockouts and 1 submission. They all get $50K.
All right.
If the UFC just goes to a finish bonus, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you. Yeah, you know what's gonna happen? The guy goes, "Hey, dude, I'm down. Like, I'm about to lose. Let me just you submit me, and then you toss me like 10K. Hey, there's 5 seconds left. Hey, I'm out. I tap out. I'm about to lose anyway. No, obviously that would be illegal. I'm just joking. Give me what. I'm gonna put you on the hardest spot ever, because these prelims were off the hook. I mean, even most of the main card was off the hook. Give me a fight of the night and 2 performance bonuses that you would if you had to give it out, because you're leaving some people out.
Yeah, I mean, I might give fight of the night to Oliveira versus De Paula, like Boss.
Yeah, so what
it was more exciting fight. If I had to rewatch one of them right now, I'm rewatching that one.
Yeah, they need the more money too.
Yeah. I mean, performances of the night. Oh, there were so many just brutal finishes. Yeah.
There's no way you could skip off Hamas.
No.
You'd have to give him one. So that means there was 8 more knockouts or whatever it was, and you can only give 1 more away. We're not doing these extra bonuses on. You got to give 1 more.
Yeah,
you thinking Rodriguez, Yanez, Wells, Dolidze. What else do we have? Hawes.
I'm probably giving it to Yanez, and not just for sentimental reasons. It was just such a savage finish.
It was.
We had 7. 7 knockouts, but 2 of them were standing TKOs.
Yeah.
The guy was just kind of
Sure. I'm gonna say this. It was a 9.5 out of 10 for savage knockouts for Yanez.
Yeah.
Jeremiah Wells was a 9.9.
Yeah,
come on, dude. That was a Houston one right there.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. There's no way. I don't know. There's probably some other fight we're not even thinking of. That's how great this card was. But I'm glad the UFC gave out all the money. Before that, so the headlining prelim fight was Jasmine. I can't do this name. Help me out. How do I say it?
Jasmine Yasidovicius.
Yasidovicius and Natalia Silva. Uh, Silva won a pillar to post decision. Absolutely beat the brakes off of Jasmine. Silva looked fantastic in her
Dude,
debut.
you make this point a lot that when a fighter who is that young, who's in their mid 20s, disappears for 2 years,
Oh,
sometimes they come back with a just completely retooled skill set. This
it's
woman is so
yeah.
different from the
Oh my
2018
god.
version of herself.
Oh my god. I I'm glad you said that because I'm watching the broadcast and I'm hearing DC and Cruz talking about being away for 2 years. Like that's what happened away for 2 years. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's true, but it's not just the time off, it's the age. It's like two-part because it's not just the time away because Josh Emmett is 35 or 36, whatever year is. If he takes off for 2 years, I'm not more confident in him. I'm less confident
Yeah.
in him.
Like
Yeah.
I posted it in the chat, guys. Look at Natalia Silva's Fight Finder photo. She looks like a 16-year-old girl. She looks like
Mhm.
a cheerleader. Like there's no muscle tone. She looks tiny. And that's what she looked like in her fights up until now. She comes out now. She is ripped. And she is beating Yasidovicius everywhere, including wrestling. Like I expected that she was going to, like the striking was going to kind of be a wash, that Jasmine was going to be able to get the fight to the ground when she wanted to, and Silva would be throwing up submissions from her back. Because on the regional scene, Silva was not a very good striker, and she was a good submission artist who was not great at getting the fight to the ground. She's a whole different story now.
Yeah, because the last time we saw her, she was 23. And I know a lot of the people in the chat are 23. Me and Ben are much older than that. You're still a kid. You're not even an adult yet.
Yeah.
Like I'm still drinking Rolling Rocks when I was 23. A bucket of Rolling Rock and doing lines of you know what I was doing? Jaeger bombs when I was 23. Like now you drink whiskey.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when you become an adult, you drink whiskey.
Yep. Like
Yeah.
everybody, you drink Jaeger until the first time you like throw up a bunch of Jaeger, and or the first time your underwear is spinning from the ceiling fan when you wake up at a party. That's when you're done with Jaeger. Like we're both past that phase.
Yeah. I was drinking Jaeger going to foam parties. Let me come on. Like adult Keith Shillan would have beat 23-year-old Keith Shillan's ass for doing the stupid stuff I used to do. Anyways, so she wasn't an adult, but she looked absolutely correct. I want to read you my notes because my notes. I think I took more notes in this fight than I did any of them, and it was all just like positive things about. So this is all these things are going in my next preview for her. Fast, accurate, great lateral movement. Her dexterity in her hips, throwing up kicks so easily. Check left hook, takedown defense, throws, whizzer kicks, output. Like I'm going crazy for this girl, and Jasmine's good. Like
Yeah.
she was one coming off the contenders we actually liked.
And dude, you
Big,
mentioned the whizzer
physically
kick.
imposing.
That was advanced wrestling to pull off on a credentialed wrestler.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And Bass, we'll give you a pass for the gin. We're okay with gin too.
Yeah. If anything, it's even more of an old man drink than whiskey.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Anyways, moving on. Perfect time talking about a guy drinking gin.
Yeah.
Court McGee.
Court McGee, the walking bottle of gin, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I said on the preview, like this is a cruel matchup. I'm just not sure to whom, but we'll know within 2 minutes.
That's
We knew
right.
within 2 minutes, and that wasn't meant as just a throwaway line because obviously Wells could starch McGee, which is what happened. But if within the first 2 minutes, well, obviously if McGee took him down cleanly within the first 2 minutes, this is going to be a rough night. Or even if McGee just had him on the end of his jab, because McGee isn't a huge welterweight, but he has good reach, and he's generally, even as he's slowed, he's pretty good at using his jab to just keep faster people off him. Like if Wells was just hesitant to jump in because McGee had tagged him with a couple jabs, none of that.
Yeah.
None of that.
He's one of these guys. He's smart. He makes the little things. He takes a little step, little inside steps. Suddenly he's outside next minute. Like, wait a minute. Court McGee's like right in the pocket with him, without even realizing he's there. And just now he's on my hips. And yeah, Jeremiah Wells is a guy that I've been huge on for a long time. I was hyping him way before he was in the UFC. Uh, he's explosive, he's powerful, but the thing is, and I think we saw that with that left hook. He's got these deceivingly long, like he's just got a weird build. He's a shorter, very extremely stocky welterweight, but these like go-go gadget arms. And for you guys who don't know what I'm talking about, Ben knows there was a cartoon with a guy who could extend his arm or stretch Armstrong or something like this. And that's what happened with the combination he throws. He throws his right hand, gets blocked.
Yep.
And then this arm just comes out of nowhere and just super extends and just it didn't even hit him. It like hit him with a side. It was like a club. And he like and it's all that he whips these punches. When he going way back when he broke oh my god, what's his name? New Englander. I can't think of his name. His dad was a pro boxer. Now he's actually paralyzed. He was on the Contender, the Oscar De La Hoya show. Not Peter Manfredo, the other one from Rhode Island. I can't think of his name. His son is an MMA fighter. Jeremiah Wells broke his jaw.
Oof.
I was on Jeremiah Wells after that fight. Someone help me. I know Bass will probably. I mean, Bass or Dev will get it.
Gary Bellato?
Gary Bellato. Gary Bellato Jr. Yeah. Gary Bellato Jr. When he broke Gary Bellato Jr.'s jaw, I was like, dude, Jeremiah Wells. And then you put out Court McGee, who never gets knocked out.
Out.
Yeah. Out cold.
Out.
Like one of the best knockouts of the year.
Yeah. Like Uncle Greg's firecrackers out. Like, you know.
Yeah. Highlight rails forever. Every single time you see Jeremiah Wells. Yeah. Like the firecracker. Yeah. And shout out to Court McGee, who was tough night for him. We're making jokes about saying gin. He's not drinking anything.
Nope, he's not drinking anything.
Yeah. Him or Tim Mings.
Nope.
But as good as Jeremiah Wells' knockout was, it wasn't even the best knockout of the night. As Ricardo Ramos took on Danny Chavez, and it is one of the best knockouts ever. It's a knock. Well, let me ask this: it could be a knockout of the year candidate, but we've seen him do it before. Did he get ripped off because of that?
I'm glad you mentioned that because the surprise factor is gone, but something else is coming up here. His spinning back elbow, it's kind of like Ovince St. Preux's shoulder chokes. He has practiced them and learned setups for them to the point where he makes a low percentage thing look easy and natural. Like he makes it look so easy that you're like, why doesn't everybody use that? Like, you know?
Yeah, he stepped to cut off. He cut off. So Chavez was he stepped to cut off the exit, knowing he has to go back the other direction, and then touches the leg, so he drops his hands and comes around the other way. And that was not a pure. I'm throwing it out there. You're 100%. He set that up. He was throwing to knock it out, not just. A lot of these spinning back, even like Weili Zhang, yeah, was she really good? She really talented, yeah. But there was some luck into that.
Sure. And
this was like 99% skill, 1% luck.
And Ramos, there have been 5 spinning elbow knockouts in all of UFC history. Ramos has 2 of them, but he's landed more than that.
Yeah,
like he's hit them on at least 2 other people than that, and they did damage and like affected the rounds he was in. Like, yeah. Boss said he has a finisher like a WWE guy.
It's like I'm gonna show my age again. Remember the Texas Tornado? He used to do like he would bounce out the run and then like do a 3-6. I was like 7 years old. I thought it was the coolest move, and then I realized how cheesy it was. He just bounced his roll and then he would spin one time and throw a punch when he came around. But the spin was supposed to be he's a tornado, and then punch. What a dumbass move that was! But when I was 8, I thought it was cool. So that's yeah, he's a Brazilian Texas Tornado.
There we go.
Yeah. The more than surprising than knocking it, and we said this in a preview, and it still surprised me. I'm like, dude, I know he's crazy young. He's like 27 or 28. He's 26 years old. That's more 26. Surprising to me that he's knocking. Like, he just seems like a guy. He seemed like a busted prospect, and I'm like, no, that's actually probably about the age he should be making his UFC debut.
He appeared on Looking for a Fight, the thing that got him signed to the UFC, like 2 days after his 21st birthday. Yeah. So he's been in the UFC so long that you think he should be older than he is, but no, he's got all the upside in the world, and he's still just probably entering his prime right now.
All right, Higher Low 1000 said, "F, I missed the prelims. It was fire." He missed the prelims, so Higher Low is going on our Bears list. Because yeah, dude, tomorrow make sure you watch the replay. It don't if you do fast forward, it's gonna take you about 10 minutes because that's how long they
Yeah.
lasted. They was knockout after knockout.
Yeah. You skip
Um,
all the interstitial bullshit in between and all the commercials. Like, yeah, about 10 minutes worth of prelims.
yeah, higher low was like leading the pack in my lister of the night. Sorry, bro, you're out now for that one. Um, we both said fight of the night. I think you said Bass also said fight of the night. Gloria DePaula took on Mario, not Mario, Maria Oliveira. Maria won by split decision. Really extremely close fight. MMA decisions had it 6-7. I actually didn't get my scorecard in. I forgot to submit it for that one. So it was 5-7. I gave it to Oliveira, so 6-7. Who did you score for?
I scored it for DePaula.
Okay. I'm assuming the second round was DePaulo, third round was Oliveira. Kind of comes down to the first round.
Let me make absolutely sure of that. I gave Oliveira the last round. I gave DePaula the first two.
Yeah, that's so.
Yeah.
So I had the
Yeah.
same. I had the second round for DePaula. I gave Oliveira the third round, and it came down to the first round. Me, it almost comes down to halves too. It comes down to that like the Oliveira came out like bat out of hell, throwing flying knees, throwing big combinations, and then DePaula kind of like weathered the storm and then landed. So I'll say this: I have no idea. I have no issue how anybody scored it. The thing that I think, and I actually tweeted this, I think DePaula's a better fighter of these two.
Agreed.
I just think she had the wrong plan. You can't be out volume 2-1 in a close fight.
Completely agree on
And I
that.
don't mean, and I'm not talking about the strikes landed. I mean just the strikes thrown. It just looks bad.
Yeah.
And
Especially in a strawweight fight where you know that neither of them is hitting with a ton of power. There
that's
just aren't that
right.
many women with that kind of power.
Yes.
Volume is everything.
Yes. And that's why she lost. And then in credit to Oliveira, who was kind of looking like she was tiring out come when DePaula started taking the second round, comes to the third round. It seemed like Oliveira knew it's probably 1-1. I need to win this round. And she came out even more aggressive in the third round, then started looking for her own wrestling, got a takedown, probably won because of the takedown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good for her.
Yeah. But I mean, it was a lively fight considering this was probably the lowest level fight on the card. I mean, both these women were sub 500 in the UFC. Both of them really needed this win. Yeah, it was a pretty lively fight, and yeah,
Yeah,
weirdly enough,
yeah,
on
and
go ahead.
while we break down the next fight, we'll throw it out to the chat. Tell us who you guys scored that fight. Cause I think I think it's gonna go over the board. People, how you guys scored it, and we'll break down the next one, and we'll have Ben read
Yep.
how you guys scored that one. Really, really close. Cody Stamen took on Eddie Wineland. Cody Stamen won by first round murder.
Oh,
Let's put Eddie Wineland. We'll pause on him for a second. I'm gonna talk about Stamen's performance. Do you learn anything about Stamen tonight? Like, you feel any better about him?
well, no, I just learned that good Cody Stamen can still fight a good Cody Stamen fight. That's it.
Okay. Yeah, I just learned that Cody Stamen can still land a punch because that's pretty much what it was to take. Like, Eddie Wineland is as shot of a fighter I can ever remember. Like, in the UFC, obviously, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about some former UFC vet that goes on to the regional scene. I'm talking about like guy in the UFC. He can't take a single punch anymore. Like, the first punch landed by Stamen had him hurt. Stamen really celebrated beating up a tomato can at this point.
Sad.
I think it'll be absolutely criminal from anybody. Now, I know there's still fights on his contract, and it sounds like Eddie Wineland retired. It'll be absolutely criminal if any combat sports organization gives Eddie Wineland a fight. If he's fighting in bare knuckle boxing a year from now or anything, like, no. I tweeted that, and one executive from one championship retweeted. So hopefully they won't be one to give him a fight. Hopefully they agree with me. They won't do it. But did we get confirmation that Eddie Wineland retired? Because I know he's taking off his gloves. I was kind of doing things. I didn't see. Did he put his gloves down?
I never heard anything definitive, but like I was operating on the assumption that that's what was happening.
Okay. If he did retire and he did put his gloves on, again, I'm going to say this if because I didn't see it and I was kind of like tweeting and doing stuff. Dev says Wineland took off his gloves. I'm assuming that means he He put it down. How do you feel about them not giving him a moment if he did?
What a shame. We had several spots tonight where there was literally a half hour of commercials and interstitial bullshit.
Yeah.
The guy loses in under a minute in what looks like his swan song. He is a former WEC champion. Yeah, it was before the glory era of, Jose Aldo, before it became like the glamour division. But he's a former champ in a property that you own. It is completely embarrassing that he didn't get a moment.
So Kyle Johnson says he took off his gloves in the cage but didn't put them down. But Jesus Christ, if he didn't put him down, then what we need to do, we go spine his gloves and throw his shit in the cage.
Yeah, go take his gloves.
Like that should be somebody's some intern's job. Like, what they should do? Find 3 people at the card. Like, you guys want to work the UFC? Okay, this is your first assignment. We're gonna put you in the back. Go find Eddie Wineland's gloves. Throw him in the cage. He's retired. Like, that's your job. First one to do it gets a job in the UFC. Bass said should be in the Hall of Fame. I used to do a show with John Frank, very similar show to this. We actually reversed it. He would host. He used to love the Hall of Fame questions, and he'd say, "Keith, this guy a Hall of Famer?" And I always give the same answer. Well, of course he's a Hall of Famer. Everyone makes it the Hall of Fame. If we had an actual real Hall of Fame where it actually mattered in what you did, I would not put Eddie Wineland in the Hall of Fame.
Probably not. No.
I also wouldn't put a shitload of guys who currently in the Hall of Fame. Like, I wouldn't have put Matt Serra in. I wouldn't put Stephan Bonner. I mean, I don't think I don't count the guy who has a
fight wing.
I actually, yeah. But
well, if Matt Serra's in, then you're making the case that anyone who's ever held a UFC title should be in which case, Wineland should be, I guess.
Yeah, Juliana Pena's got to be in because she pulled up a huge upset, and yeah. Anyways, that said, tell me if we never see Eddie Wineland again, when you think back at Eddie Wineland, what do you think of?
Just super blue collar, blood and guts fighter. Ahead of his time in terms of making the cut to 135, because especially in 2009, he was a huge bantamweight. I mean, the division kind of left him behind even by the time the UFC absorbed the WEC. He was he was still hanging around the top 10, but he wasn't threatening any of those guys.
No.
But even after
where RDA is now, kind of thing.
Yeah. But even at that point, man, he hung around and got some good wins for a good long while yet. Super overachieving. Yeah, I'll always have good memories of Eddie Wineland.
I also think of a low weight class guy that had power, which they didn't have power back then.
Nope.
Very likable, fun, always entertaining. Kyle Johnson says Hall of very good. That's kind of what I put him in. He goes, but those tattoos are among the best all time for fighters. So Bass says Brock Lesnar Hall of Fame. I don't know if he's asking the question. What do you think? Everyone gets in. So you know what I think. Everyone gets in. Everyone at one time is getting in.
Honestly, Lesnar's pretty deserving. I mean,
if you put
he was
most
a champ.
in,
He defended his belt, and he was a game changer. He was important.
Yeah. If you ask me, does he deserve to be in compared to? Yeah, I mean, it depends on your standard, but
yeah.
We can do this, right? We can go on a side tangent for a second, right?
Sure.
When it comes to the stick and ball sports, the NFL Hall of Fame, the Baseball Hall of Fame, and all that, I think there's way too many people in the Hall of Fame. When the Hall of Fame was started, it was meant for the best of the best of the best of the best. Mm-hmm. I've always believed this. If you have to ask if someone's a Hall of Famer, they're not a Hall of Famer.
That's a pretty good,
Does anybody ask is Tom Brady a Hall of Famer? Everybody asks, is Peyton Manning a Hall of Famer? No. Everybody asks if Eli Manning's a Hall of Famer? Yeah. Don't put him in. That's what I feel. Anyways. Yeah. So yeah, don't ask me. If you have to ask me if they're a Hall of Fame, the answer is no.
There you go.
Unless you're being a dick and you're like, hey, is Williams a Hall of Famer? All right. So JT Snow is pushing for Phil Baroni to be in the UFC Hall of Fame. He's in the is Phil Baroni in the Hall of Awesome?
He isn't yet. I might need to get him in there at some point. He did some awesome stuff.
Yeah. I remember watching the fights with my sister of all people one time. We fight Evan Tanner. Going on a side, we're on another side tangent. Uh, and I said to my, you see Phil Brody all bricked up. He's got the robe. He's like WWF perfect.
Yeah.
And Evan Tanner's the complete opposite. And I say to my sister, I said, I'll make a bet with you. I will take the bricked up guy for the first 3 minutes of the fight. If he doesn't win, I don't care how bad he's winning. I'll take the other guy. And yeah, we're just betting for fun. 'Cause she don't know shit. She's like, all right. And Phil Baroni's, I don't know if it's the first or second, but Phil Baroni's beating the piss out of Evan Tanner to about 3 minutes. And he gasses out. Evan Tanner takes him down, pounds him out. It was like the perfect prediction I ever had. Shout out to Phil Brownie and Evan Tanner. All right. Phil Hawes versus Duran Win. I can't believe that Phil Hawes wasn't a bigger favorite than I think he was like negative 240 or something. I think he should have been
Yeah.
negative 500.
And kind of the same thing I'd say about I forget which other matchup we were talking about, but what was Duran Win going to do to Phil Hawes? Like how was he like?
I
What was he going to do?
The only thing I thought of is similar to who we were talking about earlier, Gregor Rodriguez, is if Phil Hawes beat the shit out of him so bad and gassed out. That's the only thing I could think of.
And even that, like, it's not like Win has a great gas tank. Like there's just no one like real plausible path to victory you could draw out. I'll give
Yeah,
him this much, and it's a shame because we'll talk about our own cut list in a few minutes, but there's every chance the UFC is going to cut him here. For the first time in his entire career, not just his UFC career, but his entire career, he looked like he had made some physical changes to make
yeah, he
186
looked good
pounds. He looked
physically. Yeah,
physically different. He looked different. He looked like if it had gone the full 3 rounds, maybe gas wouldn't have been a problem. So this to me is just proof that physically he does not have what it takes to be a UFC level middleweight. Even in shape, he's just not big enough.
yeah, yeah. I'm with you. Like, the guy looked like Eddie Wineland's bigger than Duran Win. um, what I besides the stylist matchup, there was one thing that besides my just jabbing him up, low kicking him, hitting him with every power shot there is. Duran is a tough son of a bitch, but what I loved, and it wasn't just a change of like, I actually think it was for the opponent. The elbows inside where Hawes had kept throwing these elbows. I think he was doing that to do against Duran Win because if Duran Win has to get inside, and if everything you come in here actually forces Duran Win's the punches to go on the outside instead of kind of coming in this range, because the elbows are kind of besides landing the shot, they're actually deflecting the offense coming back at him. I thought it was an absolutely brilliant idea from Phil Hawes. Everything was perfect for Phil Hawes except for one thing, and everything's perfect when you have the right stylistic matchup. The wrong stylistic matchup for Phil Hawes, I got a wrong stylistic matchup for Phil Hawes. A guy by the name of Daniel Cormier.
Oh yeah,
What the
wow.
fuck are you doing, Phil Hawes? What was that about? Did you saw the video, right?
Oh
Obviously.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course.
And if you haven't seen this, like Phil Hawes and he kind of like backed down after a second, but Phil Hawes was like before. I don't know, it was before DC's interview or after him or after the interview. I don't know. It was some point in the cage. DC's going to come in. He's going to either interview him or they just finished. And Phil Hawes is like yelling at him, saying, "You picked the wrong pony and backed the wrong pony and all this shit."
Yeah.
Like that's his friend. Like, is he?
It's a guy he literally like employs at his gym. Like,
Are you
and
saying like you shouldn't have been friends with this guy?
yeah, it's
It didn't make no sense to me. Like, was he making a prediction show? Like, I didn't see the predict. He doesn't make predictions because he's calling the fight. Like, he
yeah,
wasn't. And then if you watch the fight, he wasn't even being biased. Like,
no,
he's giving Phil Hawes the credit. He's talking
yeah,
about beating the brakes off him. I love what DC said. He goes, "You didn't beat me tonight." As like a really like DC way of like threatening him. Like,
like
hey, slow down, buddy.
like, do you want some? Like,
Yeah. Anyway, I'm the biggest DC. Like, that's my guy. I love DC. So,
and the funny thing,
yeah.
you can make a case that the DC is sometimes biased on the mic or just kind of coaches fighters from the desk. In fact, he coached Win from the desk. Just each time before he did, he said, "Now, if you're Win, you want to do this," and then he just coached him.
Yeah, yeah.
But uh, this wasn't a bad example of that. So it was kind of funny
Yeah.
that Hawes was so hot about it.
And to his credit, like right after a fight, the testosterone's going crazy. They're super excited. He did just lose the fight before that in an upset, then smokes him. So I'm in a Sean Bitter. You're familiar with Sean Bitter, right?
Yep, of course.
Yeah. Okay. So if you guys aren't familiar with Sean Bitter, he's fantastic. Does a lot of prospect stuff. He does like a survivor pool, and I do it every time. And I had to pick if you pick your guy wins, you stay on another week, and it's actually getting down. There was like I don't know 100 people, and it's down to like 20 of us. I actually picked Phil Hawes tonight. That was my pick. I figured everybody was taking Stamen, so I always try to do like my second pick. So then if that guy wins, if everyone loses, I'll survive. So I'm not dogging Phil Hawes. I actually was super confident. A fight that I was really confident on was we got it right. Kyle Dawkins took on Roman Dolidze because we picked the underdog in this fight, which was Roman Dolidze.
Oh man, everybody let me have it on the preview since I read the odds backwards. But in our defense, it shows that we don't really pay attention to the odds because we were both like, this line doesn't make sense. We both think Dawkins is going to win.
Well, let me ask you: did you read him backwards, or was it just like where you read the website was just wrong at the time? Because we do it so far ahead, or was it just as normal,
No,
just
no,
like human
my
mistake?
notes were correct, and I just said it
Okay,
backwards.
yeah. So just a human mistake. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dolidze ran right through him. What a performance for Dolidze. He's landing power shots on the feet, gets in the clinch, and just a knee from hell. Kyle Dawkins is good, and Dolidze showed that he suddenly has this huge power. Not suddenly. I mean, look at the guy. He has this huge power, 185. He was always that wrestler. Like he's someone now. You talked about other guys that won. Like you talking about Gregor Rodriguez and everything, and you only need a couple wins at 185. You're in the mix. Roman Dolidze's not that far off now either.
He is not that far off. I mean, he looked real good. There's not much to say other than that. Also, that with Kyle Dawkins, I think we're starting to kind of see the outlines of what he is. Where I mean, he's definitely an overachieving fighter in comparison to his own physical gifts, but he's going to be susceptible to getting blitzed and overwhelmed by much superior athletes, which Dolidze definitely is. Like, if Kyle Dawkins fights Phil Hawes, I'm like, Dawkins has lots of routes to victory, but he can never be comfortable because, Hawes is exactly the kind of athlete that could just blitz him and overwhelm him.
Shout out to Technical Wealth. He did a good job. Going back one fight, he says DC needs notes on most fighters, but he won't forget Hawes. That's true. So I guess Hawes did that for him. So let's get to the fun stuff as we covered all 13 fights. The Bulls and the Bears, the cut list. We'll do the cut list first. I'm in a good mood, Ben. I have one person on my list.
You just have one, huh?
I have one. I'll throw it out to the chat. You tell us who you guys want to get rid of. And I'll tell you why. I'm going to guess you have Deron Winn on your list. I do not have him. He's only on a one-fight losing streak. And he has the DC privilege.
I agree. Dude, he still only has one. He has like one win at 185, and it was over a non-UFC level guy in Eric Spicely, Rhode Island's second finest. Like, I don't know, man. But no, well, there are no other obvious cut people to me here. One of the main problems is there were 3 split decisions on this card, and I disagreed with the winner in all 3 of them.
Yeah. So
if Oliveira or DePaula had taken a clean loss tonight, I probably would have had them on my cut list, but no.
Yeah, so Bass has Deron Winn, Eddie Wineland, and Gloria DePaula. I gave my reason for Deron Winn. Gloria DePaula, same thing. I thought she should have won. Well, no, actually, on the losing side, but like she could have won a split decision. It was, in my opinion, the fight of the night. I have a hard time cutting someone after a fight of the night performance. Most people thought not most people, but it was about 50-50 whether she should have won. So I give her a pass. The only person I'm cutting, who hopefully he cuts himself, is Eddie Wineland.
Yeah, same here. I mean, Eddie Wineland has lost 5 of 6. He has no wins over anybody who's still in the UFC.
Yeah.
It's time.
Oh, really? That's a good point. And everyone's saying Wineland higher low is going higher, going the high road there by saying he will not say Wineland out of respect. JT's now saying cut Jasmine. She only has a win over eating disorder. Kate Hands. Oh, jeez.
JT, the executioner. Like,
Yeah.
wow, no chill at all, man. Heads must
Yeah.
roll. Heads must roll if JT Schnau is running the UFC.
Not only is he cutting Jasmine, but he's stepping on Kay Hansen on the way, just
Damn.
insulting, just sprinkling insults on her as he's throwing someone out the door.
Yeah, I mean, at 120, people at 125, women's 125 are going to get a little bit of a longer chain.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's do the Bulls and the Bears. The Bulls and the Bears are a stock market reference. When the Bulls, when a stock is going good or the market is going really good, it's a bull market. When it's stock's doing a single stock or the market's going bad, it's a bear market. Have you ever noticed lately? We're actually in a bear market. We actually hit a bear market. So actually, somewhat know what I'm talking about. We usually do the Bears first. What if we do the Bulls first?
Sounds good to me.
I'll let you go first.
Okay.
So these are the ones. Sorry, I interrupt. These are the ones you want to be on. So we do a 3-2-1 style, hockey style. We'll throw out to the chat too, guys. Throw out there who your Bulls are, and Ben will read them. But Ben, give us yours first.
Okay. Bulls. Joaquin Buckley. I did not expect him to win this fight. Not only did he win, but he won in a way that answered some of the questions about how he matches up with middleweights going forward. Just the fact that he kept up like consistent offense, the fact that he fought off takedowns from a good wrestler, those are good signs because he doesn't have to win every time, but he has to at least win one, lose one, and the UFC will keep this dude on roster forever. He can collect a lot of money. Bulls number 2. Kevin Holland. Yes, he was expected to win, but the jury is still out on whether he is a fun sideshow at welterweight, well, whether he's a welterweight Joaquin Buckley, or he's an actual contender. This was a dominant performance over Tim Means in a way that I certainly didn't expect. This was not one of my more confident picks on the card, and Holland made it look easy. Number 1 for me is going to be Natalia Silva. I had no expectations of her coming into this, and she looks like literally a completely different person than the fighter that I came to expect from watching the 2017-2018 tape. And while jury is out over whether this win over Jasmine Jasudavicius will age well or not, she's at least proven that she absolutely belongs, and that the time off did her good. She certainly made her stock rose in my eyes more than anyone else on the card.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think that's a fantastic pick. Good day just in general for debuting Brazilian women who went making their UFC debuts. The Brazilian women went 2-0 in the UFC debuts. Obviously, talk about Silva and Maria Oliveira. You mentioned Kevin Holland. Throw Adrian Yanez in there, and Texas goes 2-0. Or specifically Houston, right? You said Holland's down in Houston now. I know he's not from originally.
Yeah, he's from Dallas-Fort Worth, but he's training in Houston now. Yanez is from Houston, so yeah.
How far is Dallas-Fort Worth to Houston?
About 3 hours.
3 hours, okay.
Yeah,
we'll give you that. I will go with Roman Dolidze. Starting right off he's on a winning streak. He pulls an big upset win, knockout win over a good fighter in Kyle Dawkins. And since his last fight, he also added a nice little beautiful side chick. So life is good for Roman Dolidze right now. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, look that one up. While I don't think he won the fight, he is now in a 5-fight winning streak. I'm talking about Josh Emmett. But the biggest thing is he's on a 5-fight winning streak after having his face crushed and being in the hospital for a really long time against Jeremy Stevens. Like, he is completely turned around from that point. Go back to that date and fast forward to where we are now. Being he's older, probably going to fight for a title. He should fight for a title next. Who knows with the Holloway, Volkanovski, how many times they're going to make those guys fight each other. But Josh Emmett's stock has to be up. But my number 1, I said that I didn't forget, guys. I said this last time. I'm going to say it again. They're going to keep being at number 1 on my list until they lose. Daniel Gracie, Renzo Gracie Philly team is now 15-0 in the UFC. And that's because they're not counting Paul Felder fighting. they give Paul Felder's losses to the other team.
Yeah.
But Daniel
That's a Rufus
Gracie,
Sport loss. Yeah.
yeah, that's really smart. Daniel Gracie, Henzo Gracie, Philly, 15-0. So yeah, I've been backing that team for a long time. They're killing it. Let's do the Bears. Ben, I'm gonna let you go first again.
Oh,
Oh, hold on. You
Bears.
want to read? Hold on. You want to read the
Yeah,
listeners?
let me read off. Let me read off some technical wealth. Bulls, Buckley, Holland, Yanez, and Silva. I like those. Boz, Bulls, Buckley, Holland, and Dolidze. Uh, high or low? You said Bulls. Let me consult with my wife's boyfriend. uh, Dev, Bulls, every fighter that won by KO. Yanez ending racism. DC not eating Hawes. uh, Kyle Lougheed, Bulls. Yanez is boxing in the pocket. Jeremiah Wells sweeping hooks. That's the Daniel Gracie like Brazilian jiu-jitsu clothesline.
Yeah.
And UFC cards having 5+ finishes. Yes.
I don't know. I think Jeremiah Wells is a black belt, but it would have been great if he landed that knockout and then Daniel
Came out
Gracie
ahead of the
get.
black belt.
Yeah, I love when the guy wins by knockout and they get a black belt.
Yep.
All right, let's do the Bears. So these are the ones who did not have a good night. Ben, I'll let you go first.
Oh, bad nights at the office. Start with Deron Wynn. You know, sad to pile on, but considering that he kind of did everything right and it still wasn't enough, I mean, that's all you got to say there. Like, he may or may not get cut, but for all intents and purposes, the Deron Wynn experiment in the UFC is over. Tony Kelly. You know, he was not favored to win. He came out and the crowd just booed him lustily. And it takes a lot for the crowd to boo a Louisianan lustily in Texas. We consider Louisiana
Even going against the Houston guy?
Well, I mean, it didn't help that he was going against a Texan guy. But normally, Texas likes Louisianans. Like, you know, they're our little brother over there.
Really? I
they
would have
booed
guessed
lustily.
like,
He threw
Louisiana,
up the double bird.
really?
What's
I
that?
would have guessed like Oklahoma. Really?
We don't like Oklahoma.
Really?
Screw Oklahoma.
They're like small, like kind of cuts right over the top. No.
Yeah, but like Texas and Oklahoma, no. Like,
is that a sports
Oklahoma's
thing?
Oklahoma's like the little brother we don't like.
Okay. Okay.
Louisiana's the little brother that we do. Plus, they come stay with us whenever it rains.
Okay.
That's a hurricane joke. But I mean, he flipped the bird to the audience. He had been kind of snippy and chippy with Yanez all week. Like, it was all cut out. I mean, if he put his money where his mouth was, it was all there to be an anti-hero. Like, boo me all you want. Instead, he got outclassed bad.
Yeah.
And, you know, missed weight on top of it. So, you know, bad night at the office for him because he gives up some of his purse as well.
If it was a movie, Adrian Yanez would be like walking out of the cage with Angela Lee on his arm.
Angela Lee on one arm, like he got Tony Kelly's lunch in the other, and like he's had yeah. The only other one I'm going to throw out there is Texas officiating and judging. What a nightmare night! Like, 3 kind of iffy splitters, a couple of like instances of bad reffing, a couple of instances of bad regulation, like where it was mentioned like the clock kept running during replay and injury like timeouts and stuff. Like, just, it was a mess. It was like these people had never put on the mixed martial arts event before, which even in Austin is just not the case. So yeah, bad night for Texas.
Some of the Bears out there from the listeners, Technical Wealth goes Durayev and I get her Jasmine. I cannot get her name. A couple other ones. Bass goes Tony Kelly. He's being rude to him. Calvin Kattar and Double J there. Jasmine. Dev goes lower overall IQ. Louisiana, Oklahoma. That one's I'm gonna throw that to you, Ben.
I already answered it. The answer is Louisiana if you average in the alligators with the people.
Okay. Okay. And just for the record, I love all people from Oklahoma and Louisiana. So if you listen to you from that area, I love you. Kyle Johnson throws Marquez, Kelly, McGee, and Dawkins, all Bears for me. Bobby Boucher is saying Oklahoma. So we got a debate going on between Louisiana. I didn't know there was this much smoke between these 3 states. Dev goes He agrees with the Texas Fight Commission. A lot of people hating on Tony Kelly. And just, I don't hate the guy, but my Bears. I'm gonna go. I hate to do it, but I'm gonna throw Eddie Wineland on it. He's lost 5 of his last 6. Yeah, he got destroyed in his last 3. Like he really needs to retire. Time is passing by, and he's gonna have some CTE if he continues this. I mean, Daniel Cormier said pretty much on the broadcast, like, dude, you can't take punches anymore.
Yeah.
My number 2, the Dawkins brothers. Both brothers are now coming off knockout losses, with the older brother having back-to-back knockout losses. Not a good time for the Dawkins brothers. And my number 1, kind of give you a little backstory. If you remember when we did our preview, we actually taped the preview before UFC 275 actually happened. And I said, Ben, New England could go 4-0, Glover Teixeira, Calvin Kattar. Yeah, so Glover Teixeira, we're giving him back to Brazil. We're giving him back as he's no longer a champion. So he lost. Joe Lazon no longer has a knee or something. I don't know what happened. He was getting wheeled around in a wheelchair, so that's not good. So I'm going to count that as a loss. Yeah. Calvin Kattar loses a split decision. And my Boston Celtics blew a 2-1 lead over Golden State and end up losing the next 3 games. Looked terrible in all of them. Set records and turnovers, all kinds of shit. So not a good time for New England as we go. As I said, we'll probably go 0-4. We went 0-4. So, but I'm going to give you a bonus one. As this is actually my topic. I'm going to give you a bonus. Imagine if you could have went to one of the greatest cards in UFC history, and you only needed like a 2-hour drive, and you decided to not go to this event. Do you know anybody who did that and actually got to miss being in live for all these crazy knockouts? Yes. So while my New Englanders were really bad, Ben decided not to drive to Austin, so he is getting a bear for tonight.
UFC 277 is in Dallas in a couple weeks.
Oh, there you go. You got to go now. Now watch. You know what's going to happen?
Watch me skip that one too.
No, you got to go. It's going to be a stinker.
That's it. Like I'm the cooler. I'm just gonna go and it's gonna be terrible.
There's gonna be like no contest. Main event's gonna end in a no contest. Like I poke like a minute in. So there you guys have it. Grade of the card.
A.
Yeah, I go an A too. Anybody throw out there? I'm assuming everybody's going A. I mean, it was. If you don't give this an A, then you got some freaking high standards.
Yeah, seriously.
If you don't give this an A, you know what you are? You know what you are? You're like the guy who's like a big fat guy at home, and then like someone's talking about like some girl on the internet, and be like, "Oh, Gina Carano's not even good looking." You're like, "Shut the fuck up, dude!" Like, you want a million years, and then you see like a picture of his wife, and it's like, "Dude, yeah, but do you think that girl's good looking, but not Gina Carano or Ronda Rousey or insert celebrity who's 100 times out of your league?" If you don't give this an A, stop watching MMA. I mean, this card was incredible.
And all it would have taken for me to give it an A+ is for like Kattar to have won the decision. That's it. I didn't even need to finish. Like, just I was a little bummed because like it didn't go the way that I would have scored it, but that's it. Still an A.
Yeah,
great card.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I felt like because of the like lack of rankings, kind of going on, like I almost feel like a pay-per-view has to be like the A+. Like you need that pay-per-view. Like I need huge moments. The excitement you get for a pay-per-view card. But yeah, overall it was really good. Toughest question. Give me your listener of the night.
Oh, listener of the night. I mean, all of our regulars were there, like throwing heat. Like Boz had so many lines that I couldn't even get to all of them. Like he threw out like JP Vlismus, and like I didn't even get to say anything about it until now. But I liked, Bobby Boucher brought the one-liners, he brought the insight, brought some regional heat talking about the Oklahoma, Louisiana, Texas rivalry. Yeah. I think I'm going to give it to Bobby Boucher tonight.
Yeah, these guys are always good. I can't agree with you on Bass because he wants me to put Northern California. Yeah, you guys had a great run. You got the freaking Cheating Warriors, and I love when they're like, oh, that's not a super team. They got freaking 4 all-stars in that starting lineup. Anyways, yeah, I'm bitter. I'm still bitter. Yeah, I like Steph Curry though. Like he's very likable. Like for a superstar, he's extremely likable. And yeah, then the Northern California guy won the main event. Yeah, really good time to be from Northern California. Um, my list. I'm gonna go with a guy that we haven't picked in a really long time. He's here every week. He crushes it, and I think he crushed it again. I'm gonna go Dev Goes Fishing.
Beautiful.
He's knowledge and just overall volume was really good. But there was I was probably going high low for a while until he told me he missed a prelims. He disqualified himself. So there you guys have it. Thank you guys so much. We'll be back with another preview and another recap. Luckily, I didn't get called in. We made it all the way through the entire either that or my wife, who I give my phone to, fell asleep, didn't answer. I'm getting fired. So if I'm doing a lot more videos for Sherdog, I got fired. I don't have a job.
There we go.
So all right, guys. See you next week.
See you next week.